Welcome back to Teenage Nightmares, the place that drags you deeper into the world of the unknown. Hi, my name is Kevin, and this is a true story. It happened in October of 2006. My family and I were staying over at my grandparents' house. I was about 11 years old at the time. We arrived around 9 p.m., and right away, something felt off. The first night was uneasy, but I chalked it up to being in a new place. My grandparents had only recently moved in a few months earlier, and everything still felt unfamiliar. My mom and sisters slept upstairs in the loft bedroom, while my dad and I stayed downstairs in the spare bedroom. It was on the second night that I first heard her. She whispered in my ear. Not actual words, just fast, breathy murmurs, like someone trying to speak but couldn't form sentences. It paralyzed me with fear. I couldn't move. I laid there, frozen, for what felt like 40 minutes until I finally passed out. The next morning, I didn't say a word. I was too embarrassed to tell my dad what happened, so I just went on with the day like nothing had happened. The day was pretty uneventful, besides a trip to GameStop where I picked up a new PSP game. What I was looking forward to was my cousin coming over to spend the night. That evening, my grandparents and their friends went out to a casino, leaving the house to us. Me, my parents, my sisters, and two of my cousins. We were all upstairs, watching a movie, when we heard it, a loud bang from downstairs. It was so loud that we could hear it clearly over the movie. We could even pinpoint where it came from. My dad jumped up and bolted downstairs, yelling the whole way, trying to scare off whoever it was. But when he came back up, he pulled my mom aside and said, "There's no one down there. No sign anyone's even been here." My grandparents came home later that night. When we told them what happened, they oddly brushed it off. "Just animals in the garage," they said, but something in their eyes told me they didn't really believe that. My dad and I decided to sleep upstairs after that night, but the next day he had to leave. His mother had fallen and needed surgery. She lived only a few hours away, so he planned to be gone for a few days. We didn't go with him because the car we had was still in the shop getting repaired. He took my grandfather's extra truck instead, but it was just a regular cab pickup, no room for all of us. So my mom, my siblings, and I stayed behind. Later that day, I went to take a shower in my grandparents' room. The bathroom in there was kind of weird. It didn't have a door. If you wanted privacy, you had to lock the bedroom door instead. So that's what I did before heading to the shower. About 5 minutes in, I started hearing someone calling my name. At first, I froze. Then I turned around, but of course, no one was there. I'd locked the door myself. I told myself it had to be my mom calling from outside. It was around lunchtime, so that made sense. Still, I felt uneasy. I shut the water off, got dressed, and headed downstairs. But when I got downstairs, I saw my cousin Chad helping my mom prepare lunch. I asked her, "Why'd you rush me out of the shower if lunch isn't even ready yet?" She looked at me, confused. "I didn't rush you," she said. "I've been down here with Chad the whole time." I paused. "Wait, you didn't call my name?" She shook her head. "No." "Why?" My stomach sank. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded and backed off, trying not to show how uneasy I felt. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe the water had played tricks on my ears. I tried to shake it off. Chris and I ate lunch with the family, then went outside to hang out for a bit. But the weird feeling never really went away. And later that night, that's when things really took a turn for the worse. My sisters and girl cousins were all sleeping with my mom in the loft bedroom that night. My cousin Chad and I were stuck sleeping on the floor in my grandparents' room. The same room where I'd heard someone call my name earlier. So naturally, I was already on edge. After talking for a bit about that night's episode of Monday Night Raw, we finally tried to get some sleep. I lay there on the makeshift bed we made on the floor, staring up at the ceiling when I noticed it. A shadow. It looked like a figure, long black hair spilling down, hanging from the ceiling like it didn't care about gravity. My whole body tensed. I shut my eyes tight and opened them again, hoping it was just my imagination. But when I opened them, the figure was gone. Instead, I saw Chad staring back at me. His eyes were wide, jaw dropped, frozen. "What's wrong?" I asked, my face riddled with fear. He didn't say a word, just pointed. I turned around. It was back, still on the ceiling, still watching. We both screamed, loud enough to wake our grandmother. She sat up in bed, yelling at us, clearly angry and half asleep. We told her what we saw, pointed, begged her to look. Then she looked up, paused, then told us flatly, "Get out of this room." That was it. No questions, no disbelief, just a command. Chad and I didn't argue. We got out fast. As we were leaving, we heard her waking up our grandfather. We didn't stick around to hear what she said. They never told us what happened in that room that night. Not a word. But it was the next night that finally pushed my grandparents to reveal the truth and explain why they had asked us to visit in the first place. Chad had already gone home by then, but his sisters, my cousins Stacy and Jen, had stayed behind. We spent most of the day hanging around the house before heading to Blockbuster to rent some movies for the night. We picked one comedy and one horror. First up was Dumb and Dumber, then later, The Ring. It was around 10 p.m., and we were in the middle of the second movie when we heard the loud bangs. They were so intense the entire house seemed to shake. Everyone woke up. Within seconds, we were all gathered at the top of the staircase, frozen in place, too afraid to go downstairs. The sounds were definitely coming from below. Then, we heard something even worse. A woman screaming in pain. That's when my grandfather grabbed a Bible, took me by the arm, and headed downstairs. I could barely breathe. He opened the Bible and in a loud, trembling voice, demanded that whatever was in the house leave at once. But that only made it worse. The entire house felt like it was trembling. The walls groaned. We looked at each other, both pale and wide-eyed. Then we ran, back up the stairs to the rest of the family. I remember what he said next, clear as day. "Tell everyone we're just going to get some food," he whispered. "Say it like it's normal." So we did. We all grabbed our things and left the house. But we weren't going for food. We were running. We went to my uncle's house up the road. He had only visited us one night, the first night we arrived. He'd slept on the couch, but by morning, he was gone. What made it weird was that we all remembered him saying he planned to stay for a few nights. He'd mentioned he and his wife were having problems, and that he also just wanted to spend time with my mom, his sister. So when he left without a word, it confused all of us. That night, he told us why. He said that around 6 a.m., the morning he left, he saw my mom coming down the stairs. He asked her where she was going so early, but she didn't say a word, just stared at him. According to him, it was a cold, hateful stare. He said it made his skin crawl, said it was so intense, he felt like he had to leave right then and there. But my mom told him she never went downstairs that morning. She was still asleep at that time. Then his wife chimed in. She admitted she'd seen something in the house weeks earlier and refused to go back. That was part of the reason they were having issues. That's when my grandfather finally spoke up. He looked at my mom and said the reason he'd invited us all there was because he knew my dad had a way of sensing things, paranormal things. He hadn't told him anything about the house beforehand because he wanted to see if my dad picked up on it naturally, without any influence. The next day, we helped them pack. That's when the owner of the house pulled into the driveway. He stepped out, walked up to the front door, and said with a smirk, "Number 10. My grandfather turned around and asked, "What do you mean, number 10? The man chuckled. "You're the 10th family to move out of this house just this year." My grandfather's face dropped. "What's going on in that house?" he asked. The owner paused, let out a sigh, and then said, "It was a murder-suicide. A guy came home one night, found his wife cheating, and ended it. Killed her, killed the man, then killed himself. All died from a shot with a shotgun." He looked at us. "Those loud bangs you heard? That was probably the shotgun. And the woman screaming, yeah? Everyone who stayed here hears the same thing, over and over." My grandparents didn't say a word. They just finished packing, grabbed their belongings, and never looked back. That was a long time ago, but I still get chills just thinking about it. To the spirits of that house, I hope you find peace. And to whoever lives there now, I hope you never encounter the spirit with the long black hair.